Okay, to the over 50s and the baby boomers. So, some of you may have heard a little bit of this, some of you may not have, but what I'm up to these days is just continuously researching the over 50s market and helping my clients implement those findings really super efficiently through Chat GPT. And I'm going to go through some of that in just a moment, sort of at the end of this. So here we go. And for those of you who have just arrived, I'm going to do questions at the end of the session today. So just reminding you all that that's happening. So if you haven't come across me before, I am first and foremost a travel researcher, and I'm showing my age. I've been in the travel industry for about 30 years now, basically all of my life. And I know there's many of us out there. I have tried to get out on the odd occasion during COVID even, but just keep coming back. So I'm very passionate about the industry. I started at Qantas and spent 15 years there and ended up in the market research department, which is why I am fascinated with researching travellers. And it is the most fascinating job in the world because basically what I do is I just talk to people about their travels all day and every day and help businesses sell travel. So I reckon that's pretty damn good myself. So just to let you know, I've worked with all sorts of brands, both here, big and small, here and around the world, and just loving it. And what I've established is that pretty much the same thing works for the big guys as it does for the small guys. So what I want to do now is just get this out of the way, let you know what I sell. So essentially I sell traveller research, specialising in the over 50s and baby boomers, which is very relevant. I will let you know in a moment why that is. And more recently, I'm focused on travel content creation because what I was finding is that my clients had no time to read a research report, let alone think about how to operationalise and make money from those trends in the research report. And I'm completely obsessed with Chat GPT and AI. And Carolyn, if you're here, you'll get this. I'm also a tech nerd. So I have the perfect convergence of travel research and technology happening for me right now, which gets me super duper excited. So what I'm doing is I am selling my research and helping people create content, evidence-based content via ChatGPT. So the way I tend to work is I work with evidence, I work with research, and I don't make any decisions or advise you to make any decisions without traveller research or some sort of evidence that you are making the right decision. And that really needs to be customer centric, so traveller centric, looking at your ideal travellers. Now, I always work with the travellers with the most growth potential, not the best looking ones or the most youthful ones. And right now, the travellers with the most growth potential for you are the over 60s. So I tend to advise, you need to focus on trends and methodologies that are going to at least increase your inquiries, your sales and your bookings, allow for repeat travel and referrals. So you've got to cut out the nice to haves. You've got to cut out the stuff that you're not sure if it's working or not. For example, I'm always hearing about great big stats with travellers of a younger age demographic with super high intentions to travel, but they just simply don't have the means to travel. So there's always a difference. The intentions are there, but can they afford it? Not sure. Anyway, that's how it all works for me. So today we are here because we want to look at attracting the high spending travellers and look at how we can better attract the over 50s market segment. And what I want to talk about is why they are a great market to target compared to others. And this isn't just a new thing. It's not just now. It's been the last 10 years, in fact, probably the last 15 years or so. And the evidence overwhelmingly points to this, and I'll show you why in just a moment. So I'll give you a research update on not just who to target, but what they're wanting in terms of travel right now. And if you stick around long enough to the end, what I'm going to show you is the trends that I run through today. I'm going to show you how to actually monetize those through Chat GPT and create more content and hopefully more bookings of your ideal high spending traveler. So there are three things that I absolutely love about this market. There's lots of them. They have lots of cash to splash on travel and family. The two are interrelated when it comes to travel. And they are rich in the key currency of time. And now that is a key definer. So we're not talking about just rich as in terms of dollars, they're rich in terms of time, which is super duper important when we're talking about a cohort that makes multiple trips a year, both domestic and internationally. Now, I'm normally a chart-free zone because I find charts, can be super duper boring, but this is one of my favourite charts in the world, and I've been showing it for years and years now. And it talks about why there is a fuss about baby boomers. So, everyone hangs shit on the baby boomers for some reason or another, but they're really important from a demographic point of view, from a basic social and demographic point of view. So there's lots of them. They're retiring every day, which gives them time. They've got money as well. So I'm going to give you a little story here, possibly a history lesson on why we need to care about the baby boomers. Now, this is Australia's fertility rate across the years up to about 2010. And you can pretty much be sure that it's dropped from 2010. So what this shows is the babies that have been born in Australia since World War II. And you can see here, this is during the Depression, the 1930s. And then what we can see is there's a bit of a growth in the birth rate. So during this period, there was war and there was depression. So that made two things happen, that women's reproductive possibilities were low, and also all the men went off to fight the war, like millions and millions of men went to war. So what happened at the end of World War II is that all those millions and millions of men came back from war to countries, to their home countries, to their wives and girlfriends. And what do you think happened then? It was the great global shag, I call it. So what this means is that we have a post-war baby boom. So hence the baby boomers. So people were healthy again. The husbands and boyfriends were back. So they could make plenty of babies. So we can see here the rapid decline in the baby boom here. Now, what's really interesting, and this is enormous social implications of the contraceptive pill. So the reason why we will never have this many people ever being born again, meaning we will never have this number of people ever retiring again, meaning it's a once in a lifetime opportunity to make lots of money in travel because of the sheer volume of people. The contraceptive pill was introduced sort of in the late 60s, and that meant that women could shag all they wanted without the implication of becoming pregnant. So this is why we will never, ever be in this situation again. So we will never have this many people retiring all across sort of a 10 or 15 year period, just a high volume of people with the amount of cash that they have. So yes, they're about 25% of the Australian population right now. They hold around 56% of Australia's household wealth. That's household wealth that's easily liquidated when they downsize. They're downsizing because they want to free up some money to travel to all the places that they've dreamed about for many, many years. Okay, whoops. Okie dokie. Let's go back into it. Now, what is really fantastic is that we have some research that came out just yesterday, and it is the CommBank IQ Cost of Living Insights report. So this is really insightful, and you couldn't get more current than yesterday in terms of who's spending on what and what age group is spending on what. And I was really excited because it validated that not just the over 50s, but it's the over 60s that happen to be spending more than anybody else right now. Young people are struggling. It's not a joke. It's a very, very real period in time. And there's just a real defined line into who's spending and who's not. And if you look at this graph here, again, I just thought I needed to put this up so that you can see exactly where we're all pointing to evidence here. We're not making stuff up. So the red line here, I've just put this in. So there's a very clear delineation between the under 60s and the over 60s in terms of spending. So the over 60s have increased their spending. They're fueling inflation in Australia right now, if we have any. So they're spending on all sorts of things. And you can see people under 50, the older ones are kind of just pulling back a bit just in case. They might be sort of being a little bit more conservative in their spending. But the younger ones here, we can see they're really struggling. We can see the millennials especially, the Gen Zs there, but the millennials have got families. They've probably got new mortgages. They once were a really sexy demographic to target in terms of travel before kids, but now, as I tell all young people, kids will ruin everything for your finances. So think very clearly if you don't have them. So what we can see is that the over 60s are spending by far more than any other age group. They're less impacted by the cost of living, mortgage stresses, and I guess the kids have metaphorically fled the nest as well. So what are people spending on? They're spending on travel, people over 60. So travel category has gone up 11%. So if you are hurting at the moment in terms of travel, you know, that you shouldn't be. There are opportunities out there, and just looking at the right way to market to them is really, really important. Retail shopping is up 9% for the over 60s, and eating out is up 7%. So these guys are really, you know, partying hard. They're partying like it's 1999. So, and they're partying like they might not be here tomorrow. So, and one thing that led to this was COVID, and COVID was a period that put, I guess, morbidity and death at the forefront of people, say, over 50 and 60. For the first time, we all know somebody that was impacted by COVID, put their travel plans on hold for a couple of years, and it kind of led to the perspective, well, we just don't know what's around the corner. Who knows? So really, really heightened sense of you never know what's going to happen tomorrow. Now, what I absolutely love here, and this has been validated in the USA as well through the AARP research, the American Association of Retired People, is that the over 75s are spending like they could drop tomorrow. And I absolutely love this. They're spending more than anybody else in the USA when it comes to travel. That was happening in 2023. So, you know, we may be old and wrinkly, but we've got heaps of cash to splash on travel and life's adventures and what we call peak experiences. So peak experiences are dining, day tripping, going out, that type of thing. So what I want to look at here is just, you know, just how powerful this market is. And there's an academic from the MIT in America called Joseph Coughlin, and he's done some work, and he tells us that as a global economy, this sector, so we're talking about baby boomers and the over 60s, if you looked at them as its own country and its own economy, it's the third largest behind the USA and China. So it's enormous. It's a multi-trillion-dollar economy just on its own, not even travel, but just retail spending, restaurants, travel, lifestyle. They're spending it on all sorts of things, not just travel. Grandchildren, of course, they're spending a lot of money on. So there's the three most important things to their lives right now, and that is in order: grandchildren, family, and travel, and then closely followed by pets. A little bit more about these people, just trying to drop some of the unconscious age bias that goes on here. They're really interesting people, and baby boomers in particular, so the over 60s, are just chalk and cheese between their parents. So previously we had the silent generation. They were very conservative, very spendthrift, because they were brought up by parents who lived in the Great Depression. So they were real savers, quite stingy. As travellers, they'd take their thermos and eat at the side of the road with their caravans, whereas our travellers now will go to the local Woolies and buy up big and buy up local produce and have an absolute feast in the caravan park with their, little Weber whatever they're taking along. But, just a little bit about these guys that we're dealing with when we're talking about the people aged over 55. They're really fun, they're active, they've got a lot of energy, and as I always say, I mean, this is a generation that invented disco. That's got to be a good thing. And they're truly adventurous spirits. So they were a generation that were travelling well before the internet. So what that means is that the travellers, the long life travellers, they would, to travel and to know what was at a place, the only option that they had was to hop on an aeroplane and get out the other end. So there was no way that they could find out what was there before they actually got there. They might have had a lonely planet, or a good friend of theirs may have been there before. But really, it sort of instilled a sense of adventure and joy of life that we will never have again with the internet, because we kind of know what we're going to experience in terms of travel. We know what restaurants we're going to go to. We know everything what we're going to do before we actually get there. These guys travelled before that time, and they just had to go there to find out what was there. And as I say to you youngies, this is a generation that were popping all sorts of party pills and going to festivals well before you were. They are the Woodstock generation. So again, experiencing a lot of firsts in this generation, and that needs to be respected. So I talked a little bit about the contraceptive pill before. It was the sexual revolution. It was the age of, for some of them, free love. It's when drugs came into play. It's when when activism came into play for the first time. So a lot of really major firsts occurring in their formative years. And if this wasn't happening to them, they weren't partaking, it was happening all around them. So they knew what was going on. So it was a really interesting time from a social perspective. And I'm going to talk about right now changes in the travel subsector. Again, this is from the Commonwealth Bank. What we see here is some big changes in what's happening. Now, word of caution here, this doesn't mean that cruise lines have increased by 22%. This is the travel category, which makes up a total 4% of total spending on Commonwealth MasterCards. So yes, cruise lines experiencing a surge, but that's no surprise because everyone's cruising at the moment. The next piece of growth that we have is online travel bookings. Now, if you're a travel agent, you need to watch this carefully, because what this could mean is that more and more travellers are looking to book their own stuff direct. They're looking at online travel agents, and they're looking to book direct with tour accommodation and experiences. So that's another topic altogether. Travel agents are worth their weight in gold, a good one. So you can see here the comparison, the growth in online direct bookings, and you can see bookings with travel agents have remained stagnant. So that's something to really be careful of. And I'm happy to chat through any travel agents that are on at the moment. So let's go and have a look at the, I'm going to stop sharing here. Okay, everyone can hear me. There's a chat. I just wanted to do a bit of a spot check to make sure before I go into the next bit. Alrighty. I'll go back to sharing the screen. All right. So what is happening now in this sector? Let's look at some of the opportunities that you can take right now to grow your bookings. Now, older travellers are just driving growth, you know, generally speaking, across the travel industry. So any sub-segments, because there's just, as I talked about the volume before, there's just more of them travelling. So we're going to touch on some of these trends. They're long-term planners. They're always planning. So these are two really important ones we're going to look at. Accessible, solo female, the rise of the solo female traveller, and that could be the divorcee, the grey divorce phenomena. It could be someone who's been widowed. It could be a married or partnered woman who whose husband just doesn't want to travel, and they've got a good friendship and he supports her travel adventures. That's happening a lot too. Of course, local immersion, but again, these guys really walk the talk. The food obsession that I'm seeing coming through and through, they love their food. Luxury and wellness as a secondary driver of travel. So let's have a look at accessible tourism. What does that look like for the over 60s? Now, we know that with accessible travel, it's a hot trend right now. Everybody's talking about it. And accessible travel is driven, the growth in this sector is driven by the over 50s market, over 60s market. And what I wanted to do is give that some sort of context for you, because it can be a little bit scary when we think about catering to the accessible traveller. What you need to know, and this is a fairly old graph, but it's still one of the best ones and it's still very relevant, from Visit Britain. We can see the types of impairments that are coming through as people get older, in particular over 65, which are the ones that are spending money. So you need to be aware of this sort of stuff. And if you have a look down here, most of us automatically go to, you know, people in wheelchairs or something like that if we're talking accessible. But the time that this was taken, and I imagine this has risen now, 6% of the accessible travel market is mobility impaired, which means they're in a wheelchair. But we can see there are other types of impairments that are, I guess, more populated here. So looking at half of those that need to be catered, long-term illness. So we're seeing dementia come through. We're seeing people with you know, different stages of cancer come through, a whole range. And again, this is happening because of the volume of older people. We saw that on that graph. Partial hearing or deafness, mobility impairment. So someone might have had a stroke, for example, or might need a walking stick, or they may have just broken an ankle and want to travel still. So there's a whole range of variations when it comes to catering to the accessible. Now, much of this can be kind of catered to by just providing information and content. So what I want to do now is just have a look and see what an accessible traveller over 60, what does that look like? So these are my some of my research respondents, my more recent ones. So here's Jules. Jules is in the pool sipping a cocktail there. Fairly hedonistic type of traveller, loves it, loves packing lots and lots of stuff in, loves her food and drink. As you can see, sitting on the pool with beers, how good's that? Now, her sister-in-law broke her leg, her ankle, just before they departed. So she travelled in a moon boot with Intrepid. And so she had some mobility issues getting around. It was quite difficult in a lot of places, but apparently Intrepid were absolutely great and the local operators were terrific in dealing with it. So here's Susan and Andrew, again, research respondents of recent research. Susan wears 2 hearing aids. She wears a hearing aid in both ears. So what she really wants to know about is audio induction loop systems that transmit the sounds, and what they can do. Hearing aids are Bluetoothed. It's really amazing. My mum's got one. You can Bluetooth everything through your hearing aid. It's quite incredible, and that includes any museum tours and your mobile phones. So, and audiobooks and all sorts of things. It's quite incredible. And here's Judy and Bob. God love them. They look absolutely gorgeous. I love these two. They just have general mobility issues of getting around. They recently did a round the world trip for 3 months. They just have a bit of difficulty walking up and down stairs. Now, one of the stories that they told me was that they paid big bucks in Paris for the most beautiful Airbnb. But what it failed to tell them in the content and the information was that they had 3 levels, 3 stories of stairs to get to their beautiful Airbnb. Now, they didn't know that until they arrived here, but Judy talked, and she was so worried. She talked at length about being worried and not being able to sleep the night before their departure, at how Bob at 82 was going to get down those stairs. So this is something that may not be immediately important or something that comes to mind straight away as an operator, but these little things do really stress people of this age group out. So there's nothing really sort of that wrong with them. They just, I mean, Bob was an old climber, so he's got a few aches and pains. So, but it was quite a stress for these guys. So the wellness trend, this is huge. It's probably the biggest growing trend right now, but we need to actually clarify that it's wellness as a secondary driver of travel. So what that means is that it's not that the entire world is traveling to go to yoga retreats and meditation retreats. It's that they want to have some form of wellness exposure on their trip. And it's the second most important thing to them when they're traveling, other than the main purpose that they're going for. So again, what does wellness look like? As I mentioned, it's not just yoga retreats and meditation. It's most importantly accessible to nature and outdoor activities. So all of this sort of stuff you need to kind of talk to, no matter what tourism operator you are, whether you're accommodation or any sort of experience. You need to talk about this sort of stuff in your content. It could mean healthy food options, peace and quiet, access to spa treatments, and just fitness, walking paths that might be close to your hotel, lakes, just general peace of quiet, places to go and chill out and really observe nature. And nature is one of the #1 drivers in my research of travel and what people love to explore and be exposed to when they're traveling. So that can be animals and different types of topography that we have around the world, different landscapes, that we're seeing. So having exposure to that sort of stuff. So wellness as a secondary driver of choice for Susan was this little, she's an open water swimmer, so she swims in the ocean every day. She sent me through this, this map of open water swimming in Italy on the Amalfi Coast. So that looks pretty good to me. So again, this is something that is wellness as a secondary driver, as an example. Now, the third trend that I want to talk to for this market is the food and beverage experiences. These guys are completely obsessed with food and beverages, and that looks like a whole range of things. So there's some research here from the Hilton in 2024, so very recent, finding that baby boomers, again, they're finding the obsession with food and wine for the travel experience. 45% of their budget is going towards food and wine for some of them. So that's really, really big. And most of them, 86%, will seek out local and regional cuisine. So again, even if you're just accommodation or anything, it's your job to help them on this sort of stuff, because you're going to make sure that they have a really awesome experience and come back to your hotel. So it's anything from absolute fine dining like key down to street food, and absolutely everything in between. And that means the local bolo in regional Australia to street food in Sri Lanka. So, and, you know, pubs, clubs, you name it, they're trying. They're willing to trade up and trade down. They're just really into their food. And what I love is they try and balance the food and the wellness. So I travel like that as well. So you've got to have your morning walk somewhere beautiful so that you can totally pig out on food and binge on local wines in a classic Aussie manner. There's actually a few non-Aussies on this call today, so I'm assuming this happens everywhere. Well, it does. I know that for a fact. So what I want to do is just show you this slide here, some quotes that have come out in my research recently as well with regards to food. I just love the way the travellers put stuff. I'll have a drink and you can have a read. Swanky restaurants with nature and wildlife. So they're even talking about it in the same sort of sentence or phrase. The perfect combo, isn't it? Now, I've left the most important thing to last because I want to expand on this quite a lot because it's so important, and I don't see a lot of travel providers, products or services really catering to this. Now, the thing with the over 50s, over 60s traveller is they are literally putting hundreds of hours a year into researching travel. I'm not joking. And I say this over and over, and I've said this for quite a few years. But as they retire and they get more time on their hands, it becomes a hobby. So they're generally consuming a combination of, they love YouTube, absolutely love YouTube, and they love reading stuff. So again, to young marketers, this is a generation that they read pre-internet. So they're used to reading detail, but they do like a scan too. So you have to kind of cater to both. So those Google micro moments when we're sort of stuck in traffic, or we're not allowed to do that anymore, but, you know, it might be at the bus stop, bit of time, I'll Google, you know, I'll watch a YouTube video on the Amalfi Coast. So catering to every type of content, from short videos to long videos. And the thing is, they will actually watch your videos through till the end. So So having a great combination of written stories, deep dives, and video will be really great for your brand. So they're in a perpetual state of travel research. All styles, domestic, cruise, and international, it doesn't matter what they're doing. They'll just research it for hours on end. And the other thing you need to be aware of is the high-yielding travellers have multiple trips on the plan at any one time, both domestic and both international, and a variety of experience. So they've got cruises, they've got tours, they've got little weekend getaways, they've got a bit of VFR in there, they've got girls' weekends. They're constantly planning what they can do. So not only are they planning for the year, but they're also, I've come across travellers that are planning for the next 5 years, the next 10 years. And again, I think this is because of COVID that they're just going, hey, I have to make a plan. I have to get around the world. So they're all ticking off the bucket list right now, which is a problem. So they are really high consumers of travel content. Content has never been more important to your marketing strategy. So this is, if there's one message I can get to you today, it's content, content, content. Don't make it ordinary and functional. So don't just list off the, we have a toaster, we have a microwave, we have a bed, we have an office desk. It's got to be emotional content. And don't make it hard to find the information. I'm still seeing a lot of travel companies gate the information that they're giving out. So that means they're making people sign up, hand over their email address for a brochure. People just want to get on, have a browse, have a look around, and we should allow them to do that. So if you don't supply a good amount of emotionally charged, useful, relevant, helpful content, they will switch quickly to a brand that does, and that's going to be your competitor. And it's becoming a lot more competitive out there. There's new innovative brands coming out all the time, new experiences. I'm seeing some absolutely awesome stuff coming out at the moment. So essentially, the more travellers who look at your content, the more sales and bookings you make, period. So you need to cater to that hundreds of hours of research that they're doing on Google. You can imagine they're sitting on Google. If they come to your website and you know it's been done in 2007 and you haven't updated it since, they're just going to go away and go somewhere else. So what I'm seeing at the moment with a lot of some of the bigger travel brands, even smaller ones, you're spending money, lots of money on advertising above the line. It could be a newspaper ad, it could be television, really beautiful advertising campaigns. And what is happening is that they're being sent to just random home pages or links that have really nothing to do with the ad that they've just seen. So what they're going to do is it's resulting in really high sort of jumping rates where they're jumping straight off the website to other websites, high bounce rates. So the bounce rates are really high for a lot of these big brands that don't provide the content that matches the beautiful advertising. So super duper important. The other thing that content does, it creates trust, reputation, and authority. And it's this statement: the more that they're looking and consuming your content, the more that they'll trust you, the more that they'll book you. So my question for you is your content scanned, bland, or last done in 2007? You just simply can't have enough. And it's pretty easy to do now, to create what we call evergreen content. It's content that won't date and content that relates to all of these trends that you've just seen today. So information, no matter what type of industry or sub-industry or category you're working in the travel industry, just having lots of really relevant stuff. It's just super duper important. What I find the hardest part about all of this is that using the research and trends that I've just talked about to grow your bookings and increase the sales and inquiries. So what I want to do now is help you turn some of this insight into growth. And I'm going to have a look at some of the questions to see if anyone has a question. And then if you've got time to stick around, I'm going to show you how to turn these trends into awesome content in about 5 minutes. This is so amazing. And this is something that you can do very, very easily. So I'm going to stop sharing this and just have a look at my questions. Okay, so Lot Hawkins, how do you think we can start getting the next generation, Gen X, when we're not far behind, ready to spend money in the industry? Well, I can tell you right now, they are spending money. It's happening now, and what they want is very similar to boomers. So I'm very much a proponent of universal marketing for all. So the key differences between marketing to baby boomers and older travellers and younger travellers, I find we want similar things, and that's the irony. The key difference is the amount of content that they need. So older travellers, the more profitable travellers, need a huge amount of content to connect with online. So before they even pick up the phone to you, or before they even look at your website to book, they're going to put those hundreds of hours of research in. So that content's doing the heavy lifting for you. I hope that answers. So I'll just dismiss you. Jessica, does this market want to see themselves in the content? That's always a good question. Do you think it's important that imagery reflects their stage of life? No, they don't see themselves as old. So this is something I always would have said, that they don't want to see themselves as stereotypes. And I do have a great report that I have created. It's called the five marketing crimes committed most against baby boomers, and it's all to do with visual imagery. They don't want to come across as crusty old people. And the thing about boomers these days, they're involved with every person's life, every age group's life. They're very integrated into their family. They're into young people. They're into their grandkids. They holiday together. They do stuff together. And increasingly, because of the Cosy Lives, they're all living together again. So they're very integrated. So they love traveling with family, or they're not repelled by images of younger people. They just sometimes don't want to travel with them. They don't want to travel during peak seasons unless they're traveling with their own families. Now, when it comes to imagery, just stay away from the stereotypes. So having them jumping out of aeroplanes, hands through the air on a convertible. I use a lot of stock content there, but there are overused images. I think the more thing you need to be aware of is overused stock imagery. Just no dagness. Just having people moving, doing stuff, walking, experiencing life, and having a great time in general. That is how I advocate how you market now. All right. Hope that helps, Jessica. The number 2 driver. These aren't in orders, so anonymous. These are just picked out. They're just hot trends right now, but they're not in order. So the number 2 driver for travel. I think that was the question. Okay. What was number 1? It was accessible, and they're not in order. So it's just I just wrote them like that. So if you came late, that was the first one, accessible travel. Okay. Now, what I want to do now, if you're interested, I don't have any more questions there. Let me have a look at the chat. Okay, so there's a question in the chat. What channels are we using to reach this audience? Email, numero uno, so you must have an email database. That is by far the most effective way to market to this generation. It's super efficient. They love being on your database. If they don't want to be on it, they'll just unsubscribe. The other good way to do it is obviously have your content on there, but paid Facebook marketing that's very targeted is also good. So, and I always recommend get somebody who knows what they're doing when it comes to Facebook paid lead generation. So make sure if you're going to use paid Facebook, make sure that you're getting their email addresses. So have something like a lead magnet. So I think, Damien, you do cycling tours in Europe. You can have, I'm watching the Giro at the moment, top guide to, cycling in Italy, like a Giro rider or something, to get them on your Facebook ads, to get their email address. So doing that sort of thing. How cool. Another question. If I had 5K for a new tour company, where would you put it? That's a terrific question. I would create awesome content. So you've got to remember, one of the implications of these guys are Googling for hundreds of hours on end means that SEO becomes really important. So having content means that you're going to be picked up by Google. But right now, 5K will get you lots and lots of content with what I'm about to show you. I don't know if you've had a go at Chat GPT. And I would focus on creating your email database as well. And I would possibly do some Facebook ads to get some emails, very targeted email. Again, using a professional and having a little bit of ad spend over the course of a month, just to keep feeding that database, that email database. And you're having content on there so that people stay on your site. The other thing I would do is really position your brand as a total expert in your field. So that's Indonesia. Indonesia beyond Bali. What are some really unique experiences that you can offer because you are an expert? They want deep information on places, increasingly off the beaten track. So just making your website really interesting, getting leads, email addresses, that type of thing. So I hope that helps. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to show you, I will show you just how I can bring some of these trends alive on Chat GPT. So what I need to do is, I'll just stop this for the moment. Okay, so Sigrid, okay, let's have a look. I'm going to use the Chat GPT 4.0, which is the brand new, and I think it's non-paid. I think they're giving it to everybody for free. So it is the Chat GPT 4.0, which came out last week. So, and I've done an enormous amount of training on Chat GPT. So I'm a qualified prompt engineer now, and I can also build custom GPTs for travel companies, which if you're interested in. So what I'll do now is I'm going to take some of these trends. Let's have a look. And I will go into Chat GPT. I'm just going to have a look and see who's on here. Does anyone want to volunteer, I don't know, their business? Can put it in the chat. Okay, someone's putting their hand up. Oh, Damien, good on you, smart boy. Yes, okay. Right, I've got a few there. Hanging Rock Winery and Tour de Vines. All right, Damien, let's do you first. I did have a few share the screen. I will go back and get you if you want. If you want to have a crack at this. Let's get rid of that. I think I have too much open, so bear with me. It's the bane of my life. Okay. I'm just going to go back to sharing again. All right. So I'm assuming everybody can see my screen again. So Chat GPT 4.0 says here the newest and most advanced model. So what I'm going to do is go into, so if you haven't been in Chat GPT before, this is the interface. This is what it looks like when you go in there. So this is just the basic little text box like in Google where you ask a question. So Tour de Vines has just given me the website. So I'm going to ask ChatGPT based on some research. Let me see. Okay. Now, just a few things with ChatGPT before I start. You do have to be careful. It's only as good as the human that sits behind it. And it's only as good as the human that reads it at the end. So you need to really be careful, because if it doesn't know something or if it can't source something, it just basically makes shit up. So, and the other thing that you need to be careful of is you have to be careful of sounding like everybody else in your travel category, because people are starting to use this, which is why I recommend you use customer research. So some of the research and the trends that I've got to really differentiate your content. So if today, and you treat it like a person. The best way to treat this is that it's your new star recruit. You have a new marketing manager who's going to create your content. So I'm going to say you are acting as the marketing manager for Tour de Vines. You have been asked to create a blog piece on accessible travel in Italy for bike riders 60 years old with mobility issues. Let's see what it comes back with, because again, this is how you can activate the trends, because I imagine you have a fair few mammals on your trips. You're going to given us accommodation. Look at this further reading. So what is it giving me here? Now it's a lot faster, this new version. So so it's not out of reach for bike riders over 60, even with mobility issues. Why Italy for accessible bike travel? I don't know. I don't imagine Italy would be great for bike travel if you have extra requirements. Let's see, scenic beauty. Yep. Accessible bike routes. So what I want to do here is, yeah, it's a good start. And this is what you say to your new marketing recruit. This is a great start. Can you just give me something more meaty with examples? Give more specific examples, because we know one thing with accessible, you need to give a lot of detail. So they want to see photos of what it's like. Paved roads, well maintained, but yeah, this is good. I think it's good. It's probably a good start. Good tips, hire a local guide. Olive oil tasting. This looks all right. Probably needs a bit of finessing. The thing that I like that it does, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you, let's see if it's made stuff up. Did you source the information? I'll just put, how did you source the information? Yep, it's given us the good sources, tourism boards, Sage, which I know is a travel company in the UK that specifically caters to older travellers. I'm pretty happy. So then what we could do for you then, Damien, is now, because we know that they respond really well to email, now can you provide, create one email. So this is going to go out to your database with a direct link back to the blog and 2 Facebook posts from the article. This is something that you probably would have dreaded. You've done all those marketing courses, digital marketing courses say you have to do content, create content. This is it. This is solved now, because, you know, writing is a professional field. So this is pretty good. What you need to do now, Damien, because you are an expert, is go through and what I would also do here as well. So you've got the email. This is awesome. So you can put your link to your visit Tour Divines. It's taken your website there. Facebook posts, accessible bike routes for Italy. Cycle with ease. It's looking pretty good. No mammals. That's good. So I could do it. Great. Okay. So thank you. I like the sound of wine and olive oil. That's my kind of trip. Cycling through. But it's a good article. Yeah, the hashtags. Exactly. So it's really awesome. So what I can do, let's have a look and see if I have any. I'm going to have a look at the chat. I'll do another one while I'm here. Hanging Rock Winery. Okay. So what I will do here is go into a new chat. Okay. So Hanging Rock Winery. Okay. So you are the marketing manager to create a blog about the food and wine scene surrounding Hanging Rock area. Be very detailed and give specific. So the other thing that I like to do too, so that it's less functional, and this is where it's only as good as the instructions it's given, is I would like to tell it to write with emotion. So to write with emotion, because we know emotion is marketing gold. I learned that when I worked in the Qantas brand department for many years. Write with emotion, and I want to imagine that I am there. Let's have a look. Macedon Ranges, geological wonder. It's looking pretty good. Farm to table experiences. So what I would do here is say, I don't want you to emotional connection. I want the reader to feel it. Just giving it a bit of direction. Got a couple of chats here I'll have a look at. Oh, brilliant. Okay. That's why you've got to look at it, Ruth. You've got to fact check it, and it will make stuff up if it can't find it. Super duper important. There's so much to know about Chat GPT and, you know, and just how to use it, what to input into it, the type of prompts. There's all sorts of things that you need to know about it. So, but it is really, really awesome. So what I am going to do today is I've actually started doing courses on Chat GPT using my traveller research, and specifically for the travel and tourism industry. So what I want to do is invite you, if you're interested, to do one of these courses. So a little bit about the course. Let me just go into, and I'm actually pricing it really well so that it's accessible to everybody. And it's going to be totally hands-on. I'm just going to share my screen again. I'll just keep it here. So yeah, so I'm going to price this course at $4.97. We're going to use my inputs, my prompts. So when I write the instructions, it's called a prompt. And what I have is a whole list of prompts based on my traveller research, which is going to be better than you just putting your own instructions in, because it's all traveller focused. So on this course, I'm going to go through the traveller research, the content topics it sells and will get you bookings. And you're going to create 6 blog articles, 6 months worth of emails, 6 months worth of social media posts. So I'm going to do it 2 ways. I'm going to do a live session in Melbourne, and I'm also going to do a session online in Zoom for those of you that can't get to Melbourne. So just having a look at that. Do your prompts call back to your research? Absolutely. So Chloe, there's probably a lot more sophisticated uses. I could create your own custom GPT for the brand in question, something that you can use internally. So we could put your brand document, any research that you've got, and I could put my research in there as well. So we could combine the two research modalities. We can also combine, put in there your instructions, your brand. It's totally focused to what you need. So we can have a chat about that offline. Does anyone have any other questions, comments before I head off? I hope that's been super helpful. Let's have a look. I don't have a date yet. That would help, Alex, and I hope you're going to come along. It's going to be in June. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to create the dates, have a look at my diary, and then I will send an email out to everybody and just sort of a save the date so that you've got it. And then I'll do the logistics. So it will be, so Alex, just let me know if there's a date not suitable, or you know, if you've got a date where you're going to be here, I can try and coordinate that. What's the difference between paid and non-paid Chat GPT? So it's worth, just hands down, getting the paid version. It's $20 a month. Just do it. Don't even bother not getting it. It's just so much more powerful. It writes better. You can put your custom instructions in there. So if you come along to the course, Angelo, what we can do is I can help you set up custom instructions for your brand to run your own custom GPT for your new travel company. So any more questions? I think lots of thank yous. I'm really glad everybody's got a lot out of this. All right, well, I think we're done, everyone. So thanks for being with me today. I know everyone's crazy busy, so I really appreciate you coming to spend some time with me today and helping me get the message out about the over 60s and Chat GPT. Thank you, and let's talk soon. Okay, take care. Have a great weekend, everyone. Bye.